I was gonna say the numbers like 113 because in my head that's what it is.
113. Yeah, 113. Episode 113 sounds like technical and cool. 113 sounds very NPR. I don't like that so much. So episode 113 of the Home Games Podcast. Today is August 2nd, 2022. My name is Joseph. That is Yazeed, who was just speaking. I don't know if you said your name or not. Today we are going noteless, kind of, but we have been working on some, or at least I've been working on some stuff for Home Games. I don't know if Yazeed's been working on stuff. We will get to that. I've also been playing some video games for inspiration. It's something I said I would do a couple, or I think last episode, that I kind of needed some artistic inspiration for games that I was going to be making. So I have some updates there. I also made a game which I will talk about. But before we get to home game specific stuff, hello Yazeed. What is up with you? How have you been since the last episode?
I watched the movie Nope, and it has really messed me up. For people who haven't seen Nope, there's a scene with a chimpanzee that has consumed basically my whole life at this point in a negative way. But I also been playing a video game, City Skylines. I've been making a city. It's very nice. Pretty okay city. I'd live there probably.
Sick. What's your city about? What's your goal?
My goal is to make a city where cars aren't required. And so I have a very robust public transportation system and walking trails and stuff like that. And so the majority of people in my city don't have to drive anywhere, which I'm pretty into. I think it's kind of fun to build a city that way.
Nice. Have you encountered any last time I played that game, it felt like it was kind of unfair because my terrain was very dipped in one area, and then one bad flood came and killed everybody because my whole thing was kind of in the middle of a canyon basically. So everybody just they're gone. And that was a year and a half ago. So have you run into anything like that, or what do you do in that scenario?
Generally speaking, you can do stuff like set up canals and route the water away from your city if that's a problem for you. But my city is still pretty young. I have about 7,000 people living there, and I'm just recently adding an industry to my city. So I'm right now dealing with pollution is my primary problem.
Nice. Have you been inspired at all by any of the, I don't know, I like that game a lot, but I don't know, it seems like it's an ambitious type of thing to try to build in home games. Anything with kind of complex systems running on a timer like that?
I don't think so. I've been using it as a way of de-stressing more than anything else, or coming down, relaxing into it, because it's not a fast-paced game. Fixing traffic problems is more first you have to understand the problem, then you have to route stuff around it. I had a problem where one of my public transit routes wasn't being utilized, and so I had to figure out why it wasn't being utilized by the AI, and then work out a solution around it. You know what I mean? And so it's problem solving, but in really low stakes. If I mess up, it literally doesn't matter at all. If the people in your city can't get to work, it's not that business shut down and that family gets evicted. It is a video game. It's totally fine.
Yeah. No, that game, I don't know. That game is cool. I don't like the time investment just for something that I can't foresee to happen. Like I said, with the storm or whatever. I want basically an easy mode of that game where it's just watch everybody thrive and there's nothing ever that goes wrong ever. Which maybe that's a mod or whatever, but I am generally not into modifying games for whatever reason. So is what it is.
I feel you.
Yeah. Anyway, anything else that you've been playing or doing, or anything home games related, specific, anything?
Yeah, so kind of promised last time, I would be working on Square. One of the big changes that I'm doing is for the, really it's a couple of changes that I want to implement, and there's kind of where my head is at for this game. I don't like how chunky the game played, 1. 2, I think how brightly colored the enemy blocks are, or the blocks that you're not supposed to touch are, is really makes the game more difficult than it needs to be. So I'm doing a couple of things. 1, I'm changing the colors. Black is still the background, but the colors aren't going to be vibrant yellow and vibrant green. They're going to be more of a muted yellow and more of a muted green, just so they kind of closer to black they'll still be visible, but And then the other thing is like fixing kind of like the color problems. One of the things at work really that I've, that's been brought up to like the forefront for me is like this idea of like accessibility, like people who, have like visual impairments, so I can't see color super well. Some of the colors that I was using in home games in Square makes it like really hard. So kind of like fixing those two things. It's like that's like kind of like number one priority that I'm going to be working on next. But really, like what I worked on already was to make it so that the blocks don't move like chunk. Opposing blocks, like the NPC blocks, move smoothly across the screen now in like little tiny like baby steps. So it's a little bit easy to like track across the screen. You still move in like player blocks still move chunky, kind of like how if they move in Frogger. It's like those two things. Putting in like a little explanation is something that I want to do, like a little modal in the front right when you start up the game that's like, hey, you're this color block. You want to get to any of these blocks on the top line. Don't touch any of these color blocks. Go for it. Kind of like what you would get when you first set up like Frogger or something like this. And then like an actual true like end screen. Those are all things that I think would make Square more like able for people to like pick up and play and make it more closer to like a real game instead of like the hello world of games, if that makes sense.
Totally. No, yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, changing the colors, I think that's cool. I'm not too familiar with accessibility and kind of like, I mean, obviously the concept I am, but in terms of what looks good or what makes sense, especially for colorblind people, I'm not too familiar. So that's pretty cool. The other thing was, so like you said, it's less chunky. So you're basically still moving in chunks. It's just smaller chunks, more frequent, so it appears smoother, right, in the output.
Yeah, so the way it was happening... Ooh, I just slapped the mic. The way it was happening before is that a block would move one block per tick. So, for example, if a block was moving left to right and it started in the leftmost column, it would move one of itself to the right. So if it was 5 blocks across and its leftmost position started at 0, its leftmost position would start at 5, and the next leftmost position would start at 10. And so it was really chunky, and it made it kind of difficult to like follow the movements of the blocks across. And so making it so that they move slower. Right now they move in 2, so like they'll move in like steps of 2, just like chunk. One of the things that I needed to do was make it so that they were a little bit more spread out. Otherwise they moved slower, basically. But anyway, yeah. So those improvements are coming along to Square. So look forward to them and making Square a little bit more accessible and like actually able to play, I think would be nice.
You said they move slower because you have to space them out more. What do you mean? I don't get the.
I kept the same like tick rate. Like I didn't change that. And so the initial starting position, they're more spread out across the like screen. Like the NPC blocks are more spread out across the screen. Since now they move slower, they cover less space. And so like to keep the game as difficult, I needed to just like across the X-axis and Y-axis, like spread them out a little bit more.
Got it. So you're actually modifying like behavior of the game. Like this is like a proper new version. That's cool. That's kind of the... It kind of makes me want or wish that Square was published via the home games publishing system as opposed to being included in source control, because we don't have version control of stuff in source control like that. But anyway, no, it would be cool to have the ability to like play V1 and then play V2, which in some way we still can because of Git. But that'll be cool.
Yeah, I will say one thing is that while I was doing all that, I had the realization that in God, what game is it? Geometry Wars. There's like that mode where you just try to like avoid getting touched by like the enemy bots. Yeah, you can't shoot.
Yeah.
I thought about like you could make that. I could make that with like the base of Square right now.
That smooth movement, like that real nice 60 FPS movement, maybe not, but in terms of actually getting the same idea, yeah.
Yeah. And I think we could do something similar where you're just trying to like avoid getting touched. So maybe that'll be like a game that I actually do publish. like, and call it something like Escapatron or something. I don't know. I don't have a working name for it, but yeah.
Algebra battles, trigonometry disagreements. Cool. Yeah. Well, it's funny because I've kind of been thinking similarly about I guess just like the constraints of the engine. Basically, a couple days ago or a few days ago, this past Saturday, I thought it would be fun to do this new series of YouTube videos where I basically sit down and I generate 3 random words from some website, some whatever. And then I use those 3 random words as a foundation for a game that I make myself build in 2 hours or less, right? So hit go, look at the 3 words, design a game, build a game, publish a game within a 2-hour time limit. And then someone, you, Synovia, whoever, can judge the game on the criteria of those 3 words. Right? And then maybe like an overall quality, right? So I did that. I did a V1 of that on Saturday. It's all recorded. We just haven't recorded the judging part for Synovia. I'm just waiting for her to have free time because she's been very busy. But basically in that thing, my words were zoo, girl, and swing. So I think one thing is those words are kind of simple and like too specific. They're not really up to like open for interpretation, so it's not that fun. But that was one thing. But the other thing I noticed is that one, I'm also not very creative. So like the idea of here's this thing, make a fun game idea, is not something I can easily do. You know, it's maybe I can think of a scenario, I can think of the context for a game, but I can't think of the game mechanic. What do you do that is supposed to be engaging and fun? Like, what is that? And the ideas that I did have, I was just thinking I'm limited by the engine. I can't have physics. There's no physics engine. Like, there's no concept of like gravity or a thing moving without direct input. You know, none of that stuff exists. And then it's like, well, I haven't thoroughly tested the latency and the kind of mismatched timing stuff of audio to know if something like a rhythm game would be feasible. Something as simple as, say my phone is a drum and your phone is a guitar. And when I do this, it makes a drum sound. And when you do this, it makes a guitar sound. Can we have it synced up in such a way where you hear this immediately after? So like it sounds correct. You know what I mean? On different devices. Mm-hmm. So something like a rhythm game that based on timing I can't really do, and that's one of my favorite kinds of games, you know, is a rhythm game. So it's like, well, fuck, the ideas I can think of are so, one, they're not that interesting because of my own whatever thing, but they're also limited by mechanics so much. And it's like we have this system that does exactly what we wanted to do at the start, which is making Jackbox games, right? Like you could draw a picture, everybody sees the picture. You can write text on a thing, everybody sees the text. Mix and match, ad lib text. You can do all that shit that you can do in Jackbox pretty simply with these like static, slow moving games. But that doesn't excite me. And a lot of the stuff that I've been working on over the past few months has been, you know, like my job, like my real life job, building web services and APIs and all that stuff, kind of pulling it all together. So I think that's kind of what burned me out and just made me not so excited. And then I'm looking at this system and I feel disappointed because I can't make games. I can only make technically games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I was thinking basically for the next little stretch, and on top of the things I already want to do, but in order to stop that burnout, I need to approach this project like I would any side projects in general, which is like it could be anything that I'm interested in has a place in this system. If I'm interested in making music, I can make music for home games. If I'm interested in doing design work, I can do that for home games. If I want to learn 3D graphics programming, I can implement it in home games. If I want to, you know what I mean? Like all these things that I think are interesting, I can just add them to this. And I think the next challenging thing I want to do is add a basic physics system. Something as simple as like I can drop a ball and it hits the ground and rebounds, or doesn't, depending on some properties of the ball, you know. I want to be able to build a system like that and then see how it works in home games over this network thing. How do we have a physics system across a distributed game session? You know what I mean? Like, how does that work? Anyway, I'm talking a lot, but I just think the engine could be so much better if we like just try to figure it out again. Because the whole thing I did originally was just figure out how to do the 2D stuff and the clicking and the math and whatever. It's like, well, just do that again, but like harder, and then it'll keep getting better, you know?
Yeah. I do have a question about what you were talking about with the rhythm game.
Yeah.
How do I explain the question? If I'm playing a rhythm game with you and we're at your house,
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want to hear the sound out of my phone. And you probably don't want to necessarily hear the sound out of your phone. What we really want is for the sound to come out of like the TV or whatever is like the shared thing. You know what I mean? I don't know if you're like what your thoughts are on something like that though.
I think in a perfect world where we're not talking about actual latency and actual devices, and then it's this seamless thing where like it's one track of audio. We all hear it synced perfectly on our devices. If we all have headphones, we hear it synced, right? At the same exact time together. And so a rhythm game, sure, if I'm playing Guitar Hero, there's really only one player unless it's a 2-player thing, and then it's all audio coming from 2 devices or whatever. I don't know, whatever. But in the scenario of like a Wii Music, I don't know if you're familiar with Wii Music, but it's just you're all an instrument. So I'm drum, you're guitar, I'm whatever. And in a perfect world, it's just this one audio track that we all hear all the time. And when I make an action, everybody hears that action at the same time. Because the thinking for me is that it's all an individual device. There is no TV unless you design a game with a TV in mind, in which case we need to have like a system where you can delegate one device as like a visual only client. You know, you would need to have that kind of underlying setup for people to do that. But yeah, just if I made a rhythm game, how is it broken? Like, what's the worst part of a rhythm game that I make in home games? Is it the latency? Well, if it is, then we need to go and like bust ass to figure out how to fix that and make it as good as possible, because it's just not possible if there's like a breaking latency thing, you know. And for me personally, I think if I can't make a game that I want to make, it's like, well, then this system sucks. You know. It's kind of similar to if you try to make a video game with a web page without using Canvas. So it's like say that you're trying to make a simple game in the browser using DOM elements and like DOM manipulation with JavaScript. You could do it. It's just the tools it just doesn't feel like you're supposed to be doing it. Like there's something that you should be doing instead to make this thing that you want, because you can't communicate your idea so well with the tools that you have. It moves clunky. It doesn't feel like it's made for this. So I think we're kind of half of that. I think home games feels like it's made for visual rendering of entities. Like I think that the interface all makes sense for like this thing, but I don't think it is at all like robust enough to be impressive. I think honestly, if I show this to somebody and they're like, okay, cool idea, and I think a lot of the time I've just been waiting for a fucking cool idea, like a validation of the idea, but it's like I don't actually need that, because like the idea is cool. I just need to acknowledge that the shit is not cool enough yet. You know what I mean? Like it needs to be cooler.
Or it can be cooler. There's room for improvement. Sure,
and that's always true. But okay, so I've been playing some video games. And the 4 games I've been playing are TMNT, Shredder's Revenge, fantastic game. Cuphead, because some DLC just came out for that.
Ooh, yeah.
Neon White, which is a first-person anime speedrunning game.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then My Summer Car, which is a Finnish, like of Finland, developed game where it's a rally racing game, but the whole thing is you have to build your car like from scratch. So you have just like a bunch of nuts and bolts and an engine and a garage and a bunch of beer, and you can drink the beer to the point where you die. Like, and it's also permadeath in the game. Like, you could get hit by a car and die in the game, and it's over. You have to restart from the beginning. And NPCs are like, they'll also just drink and drive drunk and like, just do crazy shit. And it's like, whoever made this game put their whole ass into it. You know what I mean? It's such a crazy idea. A permadeath rally car building first person simulator. But they've been working on it for 6 years, and that's all vision. You know what I mean? Like, stick you to a fucking vision. And it's like, I don't know.
Maybe. Or maybe they were like, any side project goes into this side project. They were like, I want a drinking simulator, I want a racing simulator, I want a car mechanic simulator, and permadeath, so it's Souls-like.
I mean, it's a unique thing, right? And then just playing all these games, all these I really like in their own way. I think Neon White is fucking awesome. I skipped through all the anime stuff, but the speedrunning thing, right? I love the challenge. I love the arcadiness. I love the consistency of the game engine, and knowing that if I do this exact input 100 times, I'll get the exact same result down to the millisecond every single time. Like, just a solid fucking game behind the thing I'm doing, right? I love that stuff. Cuphead, similar thing, right? I love that game. And it's like, okay, I can't make any of this with my game engine. And I don't think I need to make these things one-to-one, but something as simple as I can jump in this game and then the guy comes back down. And there's an animation for him jumping and coming back down. And there's music, and there's music for everything, to the point where this seems like a full experience. When I hit this button in the menu, I hear a little or a you know, because I'm going up or down or confirming something, and it's just like all the little things that go into making a game. And it's like, I'm looking at this shit game that I made, my Zoo Swing Girl Simulator, which is just like total trash, right? You'll see the video when I put it out. It'll be edited to like 30 minutes or less, but the game is like super ass. But that's the point, is for me to build ass and then see the ass and then make the foundation better for better ass, you know?
Yeah, it's like working out. You start with no butt, you get some butt, until you get the cake. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So the rest of this year is all squats.
Let's go, dude. Let's go. All squats all the time.
and deadlifts, whatever else people do for
squats, deadlifts, the little like leg kicky thingy. I understand.
The stanky leg.
No, not the stanky leg.
Just rigorously doing a stanky leg for 30 minutes every morning.
You'd get something out of it for sure.
Yeah, but if you're doing it on one side, you get like one beefy ass side, and then the other side is just like, you know, regular.
That's some real like, I only hit the gym for one reason. That's the stanky leg.
Fuck, I had something else I wanted to say on here, but yeah, I guess my notes don't have anything else besides this last thing, which is after you finish Squarer fixes, what is your plan for the rest of the year?
It's a good question. I'm not 100% sure, because like I would like to make another game, but no idea has really gripped me as like I feel the deep urge to make this game.
Yeah.
So I think maybe what I want to do is something that we talked about a long time ago, and work on the typing of home games, like the experience of typing into home games, and see if there's any way I can, like, any room for improvement there or anything like that. And then maybe make some like simple Jackbox style games of like, here's prompt, right answer. Just that there is existing games for people to pick up and play for home games. And I think like part of it will be hilarious because we always have our like wacky dictionary to like randomize into, and I can only imagine how funny it would be to get like grip balls in your Mad Libs style game without anyone actually inputting it.
Yeah that I guess could be, I don't know, it seems like such a niche thing at the moment, I don't know. I think it'd be cool to. There's a world where we can build games that I think our friends would like. You know, we can play a simple thing, and maybe it'll be kind of janky, and our friends would be mostly being polite when they try to play it with us, and it's like, yeah, I can see the fun here. You know, if this thing didn't look so shitty, and if this didn't move so slow, and it just didn't, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess if we built something cool, there's still this like sludge around it. There's still this kind of impenetrable barrier on the outside of it, of like someone clicks into this podcast and they hear, hey, it's talking about welcome to episode 111 of the podcast, and it's like, okay, well, people aren't gonna jump into that. It's not inviting. People aren't gonna jump into like it's not inviting. So if we make, basically what I'm proposing is, you could do all that sounds great, but what if we fucking went for it and thought of a fun, cool game idea and worked on it together and built the systems that we need to build together during the process? And it is a more rigorous version of what we've been doing, with like maybe more deadlines and deliverables. But like, think of a game that you would be proud of, fucking make it, and build everything that you need along the way. And instead of like, this is a game that technically is a game. Perhaps you've heard of Uno. I made it in home games, you know? It's like, you could do it. But what if there was like a unique, like the killer app? Like, what's our fucking Halo killer? You know, what's our Haze? Maybe you don't remember Haze. But it was the PlayStation 3's Halo killer. It fucking sucked, but
I thought that was Resistance.
I guess technically, yeah, but the Haze was marketed specifically as a Halo killer.
I do like the Halo killer, the World of Warcraft killer games. I mean, I think that would be super dope for sure. I think that us having like more strict deadlines and like coming together to make a really cool game would be super dope. I think what's going to be funny is us trying to come together and pick a game that we both really want to make, because we have wildly different tastes in games.
That's the fun thing, though. Like, I'm very much about, I'm very much about just like the numbers part of games and the score and the like challenge and stuff, like the mechanics. Whereas you like everything else, and you care about those kinds of things, and like a vibe and a story and who's involved and the like feeling of playing, whatever. You like the other stuff of games, and that's why it's a good idea, because, you know, you get the fucking diversity is our strength, or whatever people say, you know. Whatever.
Yeah, diversity is our strength.
Yeah, but no, I just think it'd be cool. And like, Connor and I made a game years ago that was just a twin stick shooter, and it was just a local, right, you're playing it on one machine, twin stick shooter. It was cool as fuck, because we had the idea for a twin stick shooter. We weren't thinking, oh, we're limited by an engine. We found this engine called fuck, I just had it in my head. I forget what it was called, but yeah, we found an engine, it worked, and we built a game, and it's something that's like, still I think about it, and it's like cool, and I'm proud of it. So if we could do that in a game, in an engine that we built, on a platform that we built, it's like, yeah, it would be so fucking cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it would be cool. Ooh. Sorry, I shifted to the other side of my mic and I realized it wasn't picking me up. Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah. But yeah, no, we could figure it out. I was gonna make a game with my mom, but it's the same problem that's been the case the entire time, is that like, I am willing to devote every day, or like every weekend or whatever, but then it's like, hey, you ready to work on that thing with me? You're like, hey, have you been giving any thought to that, whatever? And it's like, oh yeah, I'll do that. It's like, fuck, no one cares. So it's like, because no one cares, we have to just do it ourselves. Like, no one's gonna make anything or help us or do anything.
This is like actually kind of tangentially related. I watched a thing about like why people don't read as much as they used to, and also like why adults read less than children. It's kind of interesting. I wonder how much that plays into like home games.
I think you could attribute it to like people, whatever, don't want to engage with this kind of thing or whatever. But ultimately, it's just on us. Like, we have to be more engaging. We have to be more fun. Like, there's no, if you just watch a YouTube video by anybody popular, you'll just notice the way that they talk, the way that they present, the way that they keep everything moving and information going, and move off of this and get on to the next and make sure you throw in a funny or whatever. And it's like, it's so fucking hard to do, but we don't do that. So it's like, our apple bottom jeans episode of this podcast has damn near 5,000 plays, and no one of those people ever makes it past the intro song. Or if they do, they hear us open our mouths and they stop, because it's just like, no, you don't have me. You know what I mean? And so it's like, we just need to be better about grabbing attention. And it is a hard concept to explain. It's hard to give an elevator pitch for something that you have to install and host yourself.
Yeah, like I said, that is true. But at the same time, I think we're always going to have somewhat of a niche market then with home games of like hobby enthusiasts, basically.
If you view it like that, yeah. But I think the goal is to make it not so niche. Like, the only reason it's niche is because it's hard. Like, it's hard to run it. It's hard to install it because we haven't made it good enough yet. It's not as seamless as it could be because we haven't done it yet. Like, the entire like idea of the internet was niche until someone made YouTube and someone made fucking Yahoo search and someone made Messenger, and it's just like, oh shit, you know, like, it's accessible and whatever. At some point that'll happen, probably with like blockchain or whatever, right, where it's all just such a foreign concept. But at some point someone will do something that proves utility and everybody will be like, oh fuck. It just, I don't think it's happened yet. But you know, whatever. It'll be niche until it's not. I think ideally it becomes not niche after we make it cool enough to be cool.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I just want this to be so much better.
I do think there is a beauty of having like a niche product, but I get it. But that's also part because I enjoy very specific things sometimes. So
well,
that might just be like part of my personality.
The goal, like the goal is like anybody should be able to make a game. By design, that's not like, it's open, you know, it's not, there's nothing, you can make niche things on it, but the overall thing is not, you know. You can upload a video to YouTube about your fucking yarn collection and you might get a small subset of people because it's a niche, but the idea of YouTube is not niche, you know, or of making a YouTube video.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know. Fuck, man. I don't know. The beanbag changed me. I think different on the floor, you know?
Can that be the name of this episode?
I think different on the floor. It's a little wordy. We'll see.
Floor think.
Yeah. But no, I don't know. I don't know. I want to make more interesting stuff and cooler stuff and more engaging stuff. And I hopefully that like 30-minute whatever I made a game in 2-hour video is fun, because I made a whole fucking game in 2 hours. Like, I published it in 2 hours and it worked first go. Like, I published the game and it worked first go. That was crazy. Like, I'm testing the service, you know, I'm testing the whole platform, but I don't know. I'm in a weird spot. Everything's fine.
I respect it. I'm excited to watch the YouTube video. So
yeah, I just got to have Synovia review it. So I want to do it with some regularity, but as long as I depend on other people, like, I can't really have a consistent schedule because it's just whenever people are free. So I would like to also look into doing a version of it that like just doesn't have reviews, because that just adds a whole other days to my process, you know. I want like consistency. I want every 2 weeks I want to have one of those, or every month or whatever.
You're gonna have some wild games.
the one game that I made is, you are a girl. So you join a game, there's at least 2 players required. When you start a round, one player is randomly assigned to be the girl, and one player is randomly assigned to be I guess technically other little kid, it's kind of like, you know how old Atari games, it's like 8 blocks on the screen and there's a whole manual telling you the context for the block, so it like paints a story and it makes it seem like there's a real fucking game going on.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we need for this one, because the idea was there are these different parts of the zoo that are represented by a swing. Like a swing is like the stronghold for that different group in the zoo. And so your job as the girl is to go infiltrate all of these groups, defeat them, and take over their swing to escape the zoo. That was the idea. But then all the limitations of, oh, I can't do this as fast as I want to. Oh, fuck, I need to draw the assets, import the assets, do all this within 2 hours. And then just, I didn't have a solid workflow set up. So it took a little bit longer. But anyway, that was the idea, and it ended up being a sprite of a girl and 3 sprites of swings, like these cartoony swings, and then the girl player can tap them. When they tap them, there's this hot dog animal that appears on the screen, and then the one player who's the swing keeper or whatever has to tap the hot dog animal some amount of times, and then the girl taps some amount of times, and if the girl taps within 2 of the other person, then the girl gets like defeats the person or whatever, right?
Oh, that's actually that's interesting. Yeah.
So you're both like secretly, or you're not secretly, but one person's tapping and the other person's trying to match within 2. And the thinking there was like, because I was just desperate, just like reaching for ideas. So I was like, okay, strike, kind of like baseball. So then 3 strikes and then you're out. So I added 3 swings that you defeat, and then once you get all 3, the end screen is, it says she's out of here, because like 3 strikes and she's out of here. But like it's like I was just like it's like abstract thinking, the whole fucking thing. And then yeah, anyway, so that's the game, and that's kind of the only mechanic I could really think of, right? Is kind of guessing the number of taps, because that's the most complex interaction that we really support, is tapping. So anyway, a lot of room for improvement in the engine, a lot of room for improvement, I think, in production value and stuff in the video, and making sure that all that stuff is more like presentable. But I thought it was fun, and I would like to keep doing those. So yeah, just like shotgun a game, you know.
Fair. I do think that it sounds interesting. I like the idea of like guessing how many times your opponent tapped and trying to like get close to it.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it actually, I think, is kind of a cool idea, because it opens up this door for like hiding physically from someone in the same room to not show. Like, I think that's kind of cool. And yeah, it's published. I think it's called Zoo Beasts. It's on the catalog on Home Games. You can go click into it. But
hey, nice.
Yeah, but yeah, that was pretty much it for me for this past couple weeks. I just worked on that game and played some other games that made me pretty happy. And yeah, I think I want to make something more complicated, something more challenging with Home Games.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
You've been working the guts for so long, you want to see what those guts can do.
Yeah, well, I want to upgrade the guts. I want better guts. I want Guts V2. You know? I want 3D guts. I think that would be cool too. I think if I can get like a Star Fox type, like 3-dimensional space shooter, that would be fucking cool. Because the performance and stuff, I think we could handle 3D rendering on a canvas on the client. It would just be a little bit more beef required than our current stuff. The real difficulty is just getting the math right. But that's like, you know, you learn it and then you learned it.
Yeah. I mean, the math is the math. Most of it is just, you know, like visual, like I said, like, shoot, I'm forgetting the word. Like perspective, right?
Oh, yeah, like the looking math.
Yeah, like the math of the math of perspective, like the math of depth and stuff like that. Yeah.
Projections? I don't know.
Yeah. Projections, vector calculus, basically.
Yeah, which is cool because I never formally learned anything past Calc 2, so that's
You're not missing much. Except for linear algebra. Linear algebra is actually pretty dope.
Yeah. That's the other thing, too. If we can make the math in this more approachable and make math cool to people, that would be so cool, you know? Because math is so shitty. Like, learning math is so shitty.
That's because most people only get through arithmetic, and they're like, math is so boring. And then you're like, but no, linear algebra is so cool. And they're like, that sounds like nerd shit, because they've been told like 1 + 1 = 2 for their whole life, and like they're like, that's math. But it's like, no, linear algebra is like like perspective. It's like how you view the world and like how computers function is like linear algebra. And then like you step above that and it's like proof writing and like proofs. Like, how do you prove math? You know what I mean?
Yeah, all that stuff is cool. I think it's taught, like, I don't know, it's like not taught in a way that makes you excited about it, generally speaking. So if we can make all of the interesting, challenging math stuff, you know, approachable, like I said, I don't know. It's just like, wow, holy fuck, this is how games work, and this is how this math works, and I'm better at math now because of this thing that we built. You know, that would be ideal. I just want to be better. I just want to improve. I started lifting weights again this week. I'm just in this thing of like, fuck, man, gotta get better, stronger, better. You know,
better, stronger, faster.
Yeah, I need to be harder,
I don't
longer,
remember the rest
faster. Of that. All right. Do you have anything else before we wrap it up?
Chimpanzees scare me. That's all I got.
Good to know. Well, then in that case, we will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you, everybody, for listening. As always, our music was done by our friend Tynan. He is Nytan on Bandcamp. That is Nytan, Nytan. You can find us on Twitter at HomeGamesIO. We also have a website, homegames.io. You can send us a question or feedback or whatever using the contact form at the bottom of the page. That's all I got.
I'm waving goodbye. Bye-bye.
Bye.